All right, for segment 1 today, we are getting close to finishing Coriolis. And we are going to talk about the factions. We're going to start, this video is going to be the Zenithian Factions, and the next video is going to be the First Come Factions. And we're going to read through them, and we're going to figure out what they are, what their purpose is in Coriolis, maybe their background. It's not too long for each one, so hopefully it's not too boring. But the factions are very important, and you're about to find out why here in just a moment. The core values of #RPGate and any good tabletop group are escapism, not representation, entertainment over activism, and natural, organic inclusion, not forced diversity. Please follow that QR code or refer to the description below for the link to the charity we support, which is the Wounded Warrior Project. Thursdays and Saturdays, you can watch the Dirty Casuals on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth. Fridays and Sundays, you can watch the Friday Night Chill Stream and RPG Digest on our YouTube and Rumble channels. Please leave us a comment with your thoughts and experiences, and if you like our gaming content, please be sure to subscribe to Legion of Myth. All right, there we are with Coriolis on the screen there. Let me F11 that bad boy. You don't need to see my browser bar. And, oh, it's not in there. Good. Still going to hide you. All right, what page are we starting on here? Factions, 186. So I'm guessing it's more like 190. Wow, so close. All right, factions. Zoom in on this. Now, if you remember, and I said it just a moment ago also, there are two major factions, if you want to call them that. The Zenithians, which were from the ship, the Zenith. Remember, the Zenith and Nader came floating out this way. Nader didn't make it for whatever reason. The Zenith did. However, while they're flying around, whoops, some new technology was found. Some space holes were found. And the First Come, as they're known, came first, even though they left second. So that causes a little bit of a struggle. I don't want to say not too much, but we'll say not too much, but a little bit of a struggle. So, and we've already looked over that page. So here we go. Here are the factions. Let me zoom in on them a little bit. So for the Zenithian factions, we have the Consortium, Free League, which is, by the way, the Free League, the publisher of the game. This is where it actually comes from. The Legion, the Syndicate, and the Zenithian Hegemony. And the next video, we'll talk about Alam's Temple, the Draconites. It's funny, it's not in this order, though. Church of the Icons, the Order of the Pariah, and the Nomad Federation, which is a really dumb name.
It is kind of funny. Nomad is a loner. Federation is a conglomerate of loners. I don't get it.
Yeah. So, all right. The Consortium. Expansion is life. The Consortium is the largest faction in the Third Horizon. It consists of a group of large corporations which together dominate trade, manufacturing, media, science, and colonization. So why aren't they the only faction?
I know, expansion is life. And on Earth, that motto would be dangerous, but in space, it's whatever, you know?
Well, wait, that motto is, I mean, that's manifest destiny right there. That's like all of humanity up until 10 years ago, when now that's colonialism. Let's expand to the moon, to Mars. Why don't we put bacteria on Mars? I think it'd be a good idea to do that.
I don't know, man. I think that's the beginning of a B-tier sci-fi movie where all that stuff comes back to haunt us.
Hey, that will unify us when the bugs of Mars rise up.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. Whoever's left, no race, just humanity. It'll be all kumbaya, but most of us will be dead.
The Consortium and the Coriolis station are one, so closely tied together that most people in the Horizon can't tell them apart. Coriolis was constructed using materials from dismantling of the Zenith on the orders of the Euryades family. Now, you're going to see these names, especially here in the... I don't care about them. If you play the game, you're going to dive into them more. The Euryades is one of the factions within the Consortium. But I'm not... What? Euryades? No.
Yeah. Shouldn't it be Atreides?
I see. There's actually one that's... There's one closer to that we'll see, I think, in the next video.
Okay.
On the orders of am I say Euryades? I don't know. I'll just call Euryades. If that's not pronounced right, well, get over it. Euryades family, the seconds in command. The Iradies had a vision that became the Consortium's motto: sell everything to everyone. If only. Okay, by the way, periods go inside quotation marks. Jesus. If only game designers now would recognize that. like instead of like, no, I don't want you to buy my game because you look a certain way. No, sell everything to everyone.
All right, come on.
No, there's a point to this. That's why they're the most powerful.
Yeah. Everyone buys their stuff because they're not bigoted pricks.
The Iradies clan, together with the families Par, Nastera, and who cares? Yevgeny. There you go. There's your Russian one. Founded the core group of companies that now, some 60 years later, have grown into one huge faction. The consortium of today consists of about 20 larger companies, all owning installations and factories throughout the horizon. So not only are they on the Coriolis station, they're throughout the entirety of the horizon. Most production facilities are located on Kua, the main planet in the center, or in the larger systems, but new colonies are established all the time. The larger corporations have representatives on the board of directors, the faction's governing body, and the three largest ones, the Bulletin, we'll talk about in a moment, the Foundation, and the Colonial Agency, each have their own seat at the council's factions. And we'll barely touch on them, but we'll talk about each of those in a moment. The current, I don't care who the current faction director is. See the new, but I do have to read. There's a sentence in here. I guess it is that last one. The new aggressive policies promoted by Tierra have begun to escalate conflicts across the horizon. A storm is coming. Why was it important for me to read that? Because this is part of the game. Now you realize that the consortium is doing some stuff, and this faction is going to have a play. Are you siding with that faction? Do you even care? Are you against the faction? Well, you're probably going to be dealing with the consortium. No, you are going to be dealing with the consortium at some point. Is it going to be as friends or as foes? Okay. I'm going to skip the companies in the consortium because I don't think anybody cares what the exact companies are. And if you do, you're weird. Buy the book. And we're going to get into the Bulletin. Now, we've talked about the Bulletin before. I think it was last week when we talked about people trying to apply the space lanes and pay their taxes and, get through those jump portals. Well, if you read the Bulletin, you can maybe know what's happening when you get to a new area. Go to the Bulletin, you can find out what's happening in that area. So the largest news agency in the horizon is the Bulletin, a Coriolis-based media conglomerate. Their motto is newsworthy and accessible. I don't know if I like that. And again, the comma goes inside the parentheses, something that colors both their news coverage and their other programs. Being Coriolis-based, both news and other programs are mainly from the station itself or from the portal stations. So when you jump to a new system, what's the first thing you probably want to do to figure out WTF in the area? Check
the Bulletin, figure out where you are, make sure you're in the right place, because we all saw what happens when you could mess it up and be in the wrong place. That happens. And this is the first you're going to hear about it because you come up really close to the star when you jump, right? Because all the portals are near the stars. Yeah, so you may not be able to see the whole sky. So the Bulletin was like, hey, welcome to the Avarice system. Oh, man.
Who piloted this? Okay, they do, of course, send correspondence to the far reaches of the horizon if some event there is sensational enough. See, I will say that Free League at least understands modern news. And to the sites and planets most visited by pilgrims. They usually contract freelancers for the most remote jobs. Again, why am I reading this? Because this could be you.
Yeah. This could be your entire beginning storyline.
Yep.
You are one of these dudes.
Other than news.
Good job.
Sorry.
You're Lois Lane. Good job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could be bringing news from here there. Like, hey, we can't afford to send somebody, or this is too dangerous. You know what? No, we think that you're great for this one. Go check on the meth addicts over there. No, you'll be fine. Good news, everybody. We're sending you to Ebola 9. So other than news and entertainment, the Bulletin also offers a post and courier service called the Hermes Courier. I, again, don't know if I'm saying that right, but Hermes ships carry mainly the Bulletin's own news, but also other messages and information, and in rare cases, physical mail. Again, hey, you could be a courier. You're new. You got to pay off the debt for that ship. You may as well. And then shenanigans,
well,
happen along the way.
Seeing as how these couriers work, I think the name is pronounced Hermes, as in
Hermes. Because Hermes, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about that. Well, then just put the H on there. You're not French.
Mm. Or you shouldn't be.
Ooh.
Yeah. If you are, immigrate.
I don't care who the most famous news reporters are. So now we're going to talk about the Foundation. The Secular Foundation is the part of the consortium mainly concerned with research and development.
Okay.
They're known for their starkly rational and scientific, that is to say, Zenithian view of the world. Remember, we are talking about Zenithian factions right now.
Sure.
To the first come, the Foundation is a bastion of non-believers and is shameful to the entire horizon. Yeah. The company is, as the name suggests, run as a foundation, selling and leasing their breakthroughs to third parties. Hey, we got Musk going on over here. Most production methods and patents used by the consortium companies were developed by the Foundation. The Foundation rediscovered the algorithms necessary to understand and use the portal fields, so maybe they feel like they're owed a little due. And due to this strong presence within the consortium. And due to this is a strong presence within the consortium. This knowledge was at the time only in the hands of the Order and the Nazarim. You're like, who the Nazarim? Order will become in the next video. Nazarim were wiped out.
Oof.
It's a historical reference. And they kept it secret. All right, we don't need to know about their other research here. What do I want to talk about next? The Colonial Agency. Socio-arithmetics. If you dive into the game, you'll be... By the way, this, I think, is the longest of the factions.
Okay.
The Colonial Agency. When the horizon was new and unknown to the Zenithians, the Eurydice family started an agency tasked with financing, launching, and establishing new colonies. Nowadays, they rarely find new colonies themselves, and the Colonial Agency, through its extension, the Colonial Bank, you see where this is going? Has shifted its main focus to financing, education, and tech leasing to independent entrepreneurs looking to start mining operations at only 25% compounded daily interest. Colonies and factories. They also run a school on Coriolis, the Colonial Agency's higher education center, where they train the Horizon's best scouts, explorers, and colonists. The top students are recruited to the Colonial Rangers, special ops teams used to secure sensitive investments that require a little more finesse than the blunt fist of the Legion. We haven't got to Legion yet. We will later. Again, do you understand why I'm reading this? Why this is important? These are potential missions for you or ideas for your characters. If you were trained there, maybe you owe something. It's kind of a patronage, right?
Yeah, maybe if you get to be a spec ops guy, and go in and secretly, overthrow a government and then leave and no one knows you're there. That's pretty cool.
But it's a hated faction.
Oh.
Being a colonial agent is a responsibility that comes with many perks, but also risks. Many view the Colonial Agency as an exploitative, parasitic corporation. Thieves that ship resources off-world and pocket the profit. Especially so on Elgol, where they are strong but despised. They are accused of having caused a terrible natural disaster in which an entire ocean was drained.
Oh,
think about that for a second. Entire ocean.
Yeah. That doesn't happen naturally, and it doesn't happen by accident. So, yeah, okay. They're going to have to take the L on that one.
But did they do it? Who knows?
Man. They did it. That shit just doesn't happen. All right? Oh, the ocean drained. Oh, it must be Tuesday. No.
Yeah, but did they do it? That's the thing. Did they do it? Or was it some natural event? Yeah, well,
but they are the strongest faction there. No one else would have the ability to do it. So I believe it.
Well, this is a faction within a faction of all things, right? Anyway, they're accused of causing natural disaster in the search of precious minerals on the ocean floor. Well, how could we get to them? It's pretty tough, water pressure being what it is. We needed to get down there.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Who else has the resources, time, and money to actually get down there and start a mining operation to screw the planet? Raise your hand. Oh, no one but you? Oh, okay.
All right, so that was the consortium. Now we're going to go to Free League, where unity is strength.
Wow, Okay.
The Free League, well, think about this. This is almost like the Gadsden flag type stuff, right? Or no, not to get. What's the one with the chopped up snake? United we stand, divided we fall, united we stand. Because it's Free League. That sounds like, hey, freedom, right? But then unity. So I kind of picture this like, I forget the name of that flag. That's not the Gadsden flag. But anyway, The Free League organizes the small actors on otherwise consortium. Creepers, I cannot read. The Free League organizes the small actors on the otherwise consortium-dominated market. So the consortium controls the main players, right? That's the Microsoft. Here, now you got the Linux. Having access to a skilled workforce in spaceports and souks, they offer service the consortium cannot. What could that be? What could they offer that the consortium can't?
We promise not to drain the oceans of your planet. I take
Is
that.
Is that a service?
It's a service not doing it. It's, okay, technically it's protection money, but I'll pay it. I like my oceans.
It's funny you say protection money. We'll talk about them next. The League, as it is commonly called, was originally created as a counterweight to the consortium, but had no way of competing in the beginning.
Yeah, counterweight of a feather.
They tried to perform the same functions as a consortium, but have over time changed their attitude towards nurturing a more symbiotic relationship instead. We won't drain your oceans. We will help you live with your oceans.
There it is. Yeah. We'll help you and your oceans get along.
The fact of the matter is that without the League's deckhands, pilots, and engineers, all of the consortium's ships and haulers would wait in the dock, their cargo unloaded, and without the free traders, consortium commerce wouldn't reach as far out to the star arms as it does. So, consortium are kind of like your white collar workers. The free leaguers are more like your blue collar workers. So what happens when you piss off your blue collar workers?
They go on strike and you start losing millions of dollars every day.
Then white collar workers don't like losing millions of dollars a day.
No, they have an aversion to that. Yeah.
In the shadows, both parties are still trying to outmaneuver the other, however. When it comes to free traders and markets outside the core systems, the League is practically in a monopoly position. The one thing they can do better than the consortium. The risks compared to the calculated profit are too great for any of the major consortium companies to get involved. The League runs several auction houses and souks in the outer systems, as well as a few on both Kua and Coriolis, which again is the center of the Third Horizon. The current goal for the League is to keep its control of the outer markets and to improve the living conditions of its members. Oh, look, it's the good consortium. No other faction is as open about its membership as the League. Counting official members, the Free League is the Horizon's largest faction. Not most powerful, largest. But how does that normally work? The 1%ers are the 1%ers for a reason, right? League's dear to large. Okay, the League's biggest problem is, nobody's squeaky clean here. The League's biggest problem is the alleged connection between itself and the Syndicate, which I think is next. Something widely proclaimed by the consortium. Look at them. They deal with drug dealers. They deal with bad guys. They deal with the mafia. The League's council member, who cares, has time and again repudiated the accusations in very vivid language. To quiet the rumors, the League has begun hiring bounty hunters to go after corsairs, smugglers, and even the Algolian slavers. So, again, why would you maybe want to take a job for the Free League? Why would this be a faction you might want to have some involvement with? There we go. Now we know why.
You can be a smuggler? Awesome. Or a slaver? Sweet.
No. The League has begun hiring bounty hunters to go after.
Oh, well, my group is like, oh, yeah, I'll go after them. I'll find them, and then I'll join them.
Okay. Another fly in the ointment is that the League's own so-called Night Hands, the paramilitary wing of the organization, previously reserved for dealing with scabs and disloyal members, so much for that strike, seems to have become more autonomous. The leader of the Night Hands, the Stevedore Zahir, is often seen around the dodgy parts of the Ozone Plaza and is rumored to have dealings with the Syndicate. Oh, now we're looking at, I scratch your back, you give me money.
Yep.
Okay. What are we looking at next? Okay, the Leaves Burrows. Apparently, I want to read that section. All right. In the last few cycles, the League has begun organizing itself in different neighborhoods in the larger cities of the Horizon. In metropolitan areas such as Akandar, Simoran, and Daharab, new boroughs with their own militias, hospital, schools, and even sanitation, water, and energy plants have formed. The League seems to be on a quest for urban colonization across the Third Horizon, something that the other factions will likely not accept in the long run. Again, you see why I pointed that out to you out there. This is a faction that is trying to do things, but some people want them to stay in their place. How is that going to happen how's that going to happen in your game? This faction is based on paid membership. Every member must pay a license fee of 100 burr per CC. That's was it the 37 days, and in return is protected by the league through legal counsel insurance. So again, it's kind of got its own racket, its own little union there.
Well, yeah, union is a racket, but in some situation, a union is what I would consider necessary.
There were purposes for it. Modern unions I rankle at, but yes, there were absolutely in the initial days there were absolute real purposes for it. All right, so now we're going to talk about the Legion. I thought it was going to be the Syndicate, but nope, I guess Syndicate's next. The Legion. The best must die so the rest can live. Not a motto that I want on my shirt.
Well, it's not a motto I want on my adversary shirt. That's more important.
I don't know. If you're supposed to be the best, I don't want to die. You know, it's not my job to die for my country. It's my job to kill the other guy for his country.
Yeah, but the problem is if someone else is wearing that shirt, he's obviously talking about me.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
That's my problem.
The Legion is comprised of a diverse collection of mercenaries and armed skippers gathered around the remnants of a fleet squadron from the Portal Wars. We didn't really talk about the Portal Wars. I don't think I'm going to, but there's a great war. You can actually find the debris all across the Third Horizon, and the Third Horizon shut itself off from the other two. You can't just float around from the First and Second Horizon to the Third Horizon, which I don't know where they exactly take place in the galaxy, but imagine them as like First Horizon's here, space, nothing even clear. Second Horizon's here, space. Third Horizon's up there, you know, way off the screen because apparently my arms are too long. But so they're like group. It's not the right term, but if you want to think of it in a certain way, think of it as like constellations. We had a constellation of group stars here, so there's one horizon, and then there's whole blackness of space. They're not anywhere close. Then you got the second, then you got the third. So, but the third cut itself off. Said, nope, we're shutting that portal down. Have a nice life. You're never coming here. We want to be free. And if you want to read the history about that, it's partially in this book. It's also in the main campaign that they have for Mercy of the Icons. All right, so the Legion is the youngest of the first come. But Max, you said we were talking about Zenithian factions. I know. Is the youngest of the first come factions, so young that is usually considered Zenithian. Albeit this is mainly due to their close ties with the Consortium. Some say that they might as well just join the Consortium, but this would not be in the corporation's best interest. It would mean one less Zenithian vote on the council. This is a puppet state. It's a puppet faction. Or is it? I don't care about these flagships and so forth. When the fleets from the First Horizon were about to attack Mira, some of the forces were diverted to set up an ambush there, but as the enemy took the route, they were destroyed there along with the rest. This is describing how it was formed. Basically, heroic stand, yada yada. During the chaotic years that followed the end of the war, the survivors traveled the horizon as warlords and corsairs. Many of the horrors perpetrated during those years can be traced back to the Legion, something they refuse to acknowledge today, of course.
Sure.
I mean, what happens in the chaos of war when there's no real rulership?
Well, it's not even just that. It's that every single company or family that has been around for 100 or more years and been rich, if you go back far enough, you're going to find the horrible illegal activity that got them that money. And they don't want to talk about it. Kennedy's, bootlegging and murder. That's what they did. That's how they got their money.
Okay. When the Zenith arrived and the Consortium was founded, this new and powerful employer suddenly meant new possibilities. The Legion of today was born. Maybe change your name next time. I don't know. They were originally hired by the Consortium to wipe out the fleets of the Zenithian Hegemony. Well, that doesn't sound nice. But suffered terrible losses and retreated, instead being tasked with the hunting of corsairs, greedy nobles, or any other who would threaten the Consortium's interests.
Okay, so let me get this straight. They were warlords and, just thieves, brigands. And then they were like, hey, we're gonna make you into a real paramilitary if you go and fight these guys. And then they lost horribly and like, okay, well, maybe you should fight warlords and brigands. Hey, wait a minute.
Full circle,
what?
man.
There you go.
The Legion of today is still centered on the 2 flagships, but is otherwise organized as 3 separate branches. Why do we care? Well, hear me out. The fleet, the companies, and the guard. Oh, notice the guard is capitalized. To many, the fleet represents the true Legion. Even though one of the flagships has gone missing, or is away on a secret mission, the fleet is growing. New ships come in from the docks on Sadal and many other yards. The exact size of the fleet is unknown. Supposedly, the Legion still has access to secret bases all over the horizon left behind since the chaotic years, but no one knows for sure. The Consortium is the only faction who uses the fleet today. Probably because they lost. That's my guess. The company, you know what? You go be the anvil, or you go be the hammer that goes against the anvil. You be the ones, the thugs out there. Yeah, go do that. The companies are the everyday faces of the Legion. Many different factions employ this branch for all sorts of missions. The companies are not a uniform army as much as they are a jumbled mess of mercenary groups who can access lucrative jobs through their membership in the Legion. It sounds like a thieves' guild.
Yeah.
The faction has strict rules that detail how a mission should be carried out, and all member companies must obey the rules or face expulsion and have their leaders hunted down and executed. I thought that was an important thing to say. Like, oh, this sounds great. We'll join the mercenaries. We get to do what we want. And here's the fine print.
Yeah, we are no longer warlords and brigands. We have to have a sheen of respectability. And so these are the rules you have to follow when you're being a warlord and brigand.
See, you get it. You get it. Yeah. This makes for plenty of jobs available to free companies. They get paid less, but have no rules to follow, except for, wait, what?
Well, no. If you yourself want this village murdered, but it goes against the rules and you are a member company, you hire a third-party contractor with no obvious ties to you, and then they go in there, murder that village, and you get what you want, and like, oh, geez, they got hit by brigands and bandits. Oh, who knew? You know, like you have complete deniability.
We can't be everywhere.
Exactly, right? Jeez, they didn't want our help, so we left, and they died. Yeah.
The Coriolis Guard is the branch with the lowest reputation.
That doesn't sound great.
They answer directly to the governor of Coriolis and are responsible for the keeping of the peace on the station, but they are too corrupt to be any good at it.
Okay.
You know, it's funny. When you hear like Free League, you think, okay, that's going to be the one that's weird, right? Legion, doesn't that sound like, hey, we're on it. We're Legion.
Right.
We're
together, cohesive unit on the same page.
Nope.
Apparently not.
Legionnaires feel them as fake mercs or proxy legionnaires. Woe to the unlucky legionnaire who gets injured badly enough to be demoted to the guard.
Injured badly enough?
Well,
like you lose your leg, you get demoted? What happened?
No. Remember, the legionnaire is made up of companies. Where's the second? I already forgot what the second one was. Where was it? There's the guard. Where is it? Where's the capital G that should stand out? It doesn't. These are the original hired. Well, anyway, there are 3 factions. There's the guard, Coriolis Guard, companies. Where was the third one? Oh, here we go. The fleet. Oh, the fleet. That's right. The fleet was the first one. The companies and the guard. So if you get demoted from the fleet or the companies down to the guard, you done messed up.
Or hear me out. Now it's time for you to get in on all the cheap graft and get your bank.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's move on to our next faction. Oh, it's actually some pretty good art. Wait a minute, is he from Riffs?
It seems so.
The Syndicate. They have what you need. We have what you want. Now that's a good motto.
That is really good. I mean, yeah, food, clothing, water. Yeah, you can get that from those guys. But after you get that, we'll take everything else you have.
Organized crime in the Third Horizon is controlled by a handful of families and their respective street gangs. The faction is based on Coriolis, but has no seat on the council, much to...
Well, yeah, man. You can't have obvious criminals on your government body. You can't do that. You have to have inconspicuous criminals on your
Sorry,
government body.
mob. No. Yeah, much to its chagrin. The Syndicate was found... hold on, I gotta see what I'm reading here, so I'm not... Oh, it says all. I'm doing everything. Apparently, the Syndicate was awesome. I had that much interest in it. The Syndicate was founded at the same time as Coriolis and is viewed by many as the illegal shadow of the Consortium. But never mind. The faction is made up of a group of wealthy families from the crew of the Zenith who joined forces with first-come criminal groups on Algo, Gol, Sadal, and Zalos. Together, they took control over the street gangs that had started to form on Coriolis. The Syndicate wants their operations to run smoothly, and this requires a certain level of law and order. They cooperate with the Guard. Oh, who did we just talk about a moment ago?
Yeah.
They cooperate with the Guard to combat petty crime because it disturbs their more lucrative forms of business. Protection rackets, gambling, pimping, drugs, and smuggling.
Yeah. See, that is the awesome part of living in late stage Syndicate, land. Your everyday life, the moments in between big events are usually very safe because there's no pickpockets, there's no selling drugs on street corners, there's none of that stuff, because you have to have a veneer of civility and the ability to give people some hope that their life can get better when the reality is completely opposite on both counts.
Again, like most mafias. In the first decades after its birth, the Syndicate grew to own almost the entire Guard through threats and bribery. It's very real world.
See, I don't get that. Threats. Just bribe everybody. Some people can't be bribed. Then don't threaten them. Just kill them. That someone who can't be bribed is too morally inflexible to exist in your amoral world. You have to get rid of them.
Sometimes it just takes a little.
They don't know how to run a corrupt government. Jesus Christ.
Well, in my experience, threats work really well on certain people. The courts and the governor needed a drastic change and asked the Zenithian Hegemony, which we talk about next, for help. The Hegemony created the Judicators. This new tool of law enforcement decimated the Syndicate's lower levels, especially the street gangs. Soon, however, the crime families learned to adapt and balance returned once again.
Of course.
Today, the Judicators are less involved with the Syndicate and focus their resources on other forms of crime. The basis of the Syndicate is the gangs that run the different plazas on Coriolis. Things get violent from time to time, as the gangs' methods include a certain level of territorial disputes and revenge. Outside the station, the middle layers of the organization, the so-called Sharpurs, run the operations. They operate above the gangs, organizing things like smuggling and drug production. The only areas the Syndicate stays away from are slave trading and the smuggling of faction tech. Unfortunately, other players are less scrupulous.
Well, yeah. I mean, and any criminal organization that has, standards is doing it wrong.
Well,
if you're going to break the law, you go all the way. Every law.
The problem with that, though, is if you're going to keep, as you were saying, that veneer of respectability, if you get caught slave trading, that all goes out. If you
they
fight,
don't have it. They don't have a seat in the council. They don't have enough respectability.
They don't need a seat in the council.
But they'd like to have one.
Well, of course they would. Yeah. Voting power for crime. Yeah,
that'd be great. But they still haven't gotten there. I don't think it's because they stayed out of the slave trading business.
The Syndicate's contact with legitimate economy is handled by frontmen in the Consortium companies. Remember, the Consortium's like, no, we don't.
Yeah.
Bureaucrats on Sadal, drug cartels on Algol, and supposedly even the rebels on Zalos B. These contacts are used for smuggling, drug production, proxy tips, and illegal research, sometimes with human subjects. Wait, we don't do slave trade, but what?
But we'll, test on humans. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine.
The Syndicate is not considered to possess any faction technology of its own, with the possible exception of the rumored black ships. The biggest concern for the Syndicate today is the rumors going around that they have begun to associate with the Algolian slavers.
No kidding.
Which has led to a renewed interest from the Judicators. Both the Church of the Icons and Alam's Temple have unsuccessfully tried to fight the Syndicate's power. Those are first comes, and we'll talk about those in the next video.
Okay.
The Challengers. The Syndicate is the largest criminal organization in the horizon, but not the only one. There are three rising threats to their power in the horizon: the Serpent, the Slavers, and Farrakhan. Faricom. I don't know. Faricom. Criminal groups dealing in slave trade and gun running.
The stuff that they decided to stay out of because it's too evil for our evil empire. You just left the market open for your adversaries. Good job, stupid. If you're going to criminal all the way.
Recently, stories have begun to surface about oddly shaped ships that sensors can hardly detect and that suddenly vanish in a burst of static. Some crews claim to have spotted the ships near smuggling routes, most frequently around the moons of, Chansura in the Kua system. And then finally, we have one last one for today. The Zenithian Hegemony. As it once was, so shall it be again.
Oh, they're going to be a failed state pretty soon.
Like, what?
Oh, yeah. No, that one line means they're degenerate idiots.
The Aristocats. Did I just say Aristocats?
Yes, you did.
Wow. I haven't seen that movie in forever. The aristocrats of the Zenithian hegemony are the elite of the monolith on planet Kua. Again, if you watch the video where we talked about the background of what happened when the Zenith got here, et cetera, the monolith is that big where the captain's family went to on Kua. And are very clear about their intentions to expand their control, first to Coriolis and then to the entire horizon. Good luck with that from One World. I'm sure the Consortium has something to say about that. What am I reading here? Let me make sure it's not everything. Okay, good. Members of the captain's family and other high-ranking officers of the crew of the Zenith founded the hegemony after the schism on board. Do you remember what that schism was?
No.
You know what? I don't think I talked about it in this this series. It is in a video way at the beginning from like 2 years or 3 years, 5 years ago. I don't know. Quickly, it goes like this. They got here, found out that the first come were here, and they're like, what do we do? We have like a whole ton of people here in cryostasis. We got a problem. We have to find a place for them. This place is already populated. We have to figure out, like, we were supposed to just come here and start populating. And well, as we'll find out in the next video, one of the factions decided to just give the answer without asking any questions. So, so a schism formed. Captain Aberin Quasar?
A Baron Quasar, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried to pronounce it Arabic.
No, a Baron Quasar.
Quasar, we'll go with that. I'm trying to put an Arabic spin on it, but I can't remember how that would be pronounced. So we'll go with that. Together with the cabinet of thousands from the monolith, officially rules the faction, but a divide has been growing within the organization. De facto, there are two factions within the hegemony: the Hegemonists and the Neo-Zenithians. It's like what, neocons and libertarians? I don't know. The former led by the, would you say, Quasar family, and the later by the Arabian type. There you go. There's your Atreides. By the Atreides. Both groups share the view of the hegemony is the rightful ruler of the third horizon and destined to lead its people to greatness, but they disagree on how to get there. The hegemonists are elitist and unforgiving, while the Neo-Zenithians prefer cooperation, mainly with the Consortium, but also with other factions. Both groups act as patrons for middle-class Zenithians through scholarships, as mentors for entrepreneurs, and invest heavily in Zenithian projects, industrial as well as research. The two groups both control a few key institutions within the faction each. The Hegemonists control the infamous secret police, the Asturban, while the Neo-Zenithians founded the Adjudicators and dominate the mighty fleet. The two police forces aside, the different families keep the house guards of their own.
Sure.
Oops. Apparently I missed a paragraph down there. I thought I was done. Pride of Zenith. Okay. The fleet of the Zenithian hegemony is neither the biggest nor the most powerful in the horizon, but when it comes down to quality, it might be the best. Get over there. The hegemony has many famous members. Wait, is that the last paragraph? Okay, here we go. Hegemony runs two schools of great reputation: the Aviation Academy in the Monolith and the Judicators Forensic Institute on Coriolis. People from all over the horizon come to the system to apply, but the school rules only allow Zenithians to become students.
Well, then why do people keep coming there? They should know by now. If you're not Zenithian, you're nothing. Get out.
Maybe they try to fake it. I don't know. The blood cult.
Oh, that sounds dandy.
The bloodlines mean everything in the hegemony. The ruling class is obsessed with... What are they obsessed with? One thing above all others, the preservation of the genetic unity of the survivors from the Zenith. Can we say Habsburgs?
Yeah, that's bad.
The worldview is centered on what crew position your family had and how closely related you are to the original crew, because that's how society should run. The great philosopher, spoke of the sanctity and perfection of the Zenithian blood and argued that the Zenithian civilization could only achieve true greatness if they protected their bloodlines from the evil forces that had caused the Third Horizon to fall into darkness. Really? Certain positions are therefore reserved for pure bloods only, and defiling one's family could be grounds for expulsion from the faction.
Okay, Voldemort.
Okay, I was thinking Romeo and Juliet, but okay.
But yeah, same thing.
The idea of Zenithian supremacy has spawned a stubborn search for proof of the early Zenithian settlements in the horizon. What could that mean? Well, let's check this out. Some patriotic historians claim that the second Archship, Nader, remember there were two, Zenith and Nader, reached the Third Horizon before the Portal Wars and founded a colony. Several expeditions have searched for the horizon for the remains of this mythical settlement. They're looking for the lost city of Atlantis. Mm-hmm. The hegemony controls the monolith and the surrounding metropolis, the conglomerate. They have made huge investments in the different districts and factory islands, but leave most of the daily affairs to hired Algolian colonists, who in turn rule the plebeians and slummers with an iron fist. Can you tell it's very caste-oriented just by the language used here? This practice has resulted in the Free League beginning to recruit in the factories and slums, which has led to clashes between the two factions, sometimes involving both house guards and mercenaries. Finally, we get to the point of why I read all that. So now oh God, I don't care. Do you really care about their secret police? No. You can read that if you do.
Not really.
And there you go. They're the names of the families. Yay. Oh, there's your Atreides.
There it is.
All right. And is that it? Or is this one? Nope, that's it. So those are the Zenithian factions. Now we have 5 more to do, which are going to be the first come factions. Again, I didn't read every paragraph there, but you can see that was a lot of information. Might be somewhat boring, but it gives you an idea what's going on there. Through all of that, I'm sure that if your crew decided to side with the Zenithians, or maybe had characters of the Zenithian factions, you could find a lot of reasons, or a lot of interesting ways to roleplay, lots of intrigue you could get involved in, and a lot of good adventure ideas.
Yeah, even if you aren't officially part of a Zenithian faction, it seems to just be good to be born a Zenithian.
Okay.
It seems that way.
I would actually, what's funny is I would actually see you being Zenithian and me being First Come. As far as when we get into the different factions, when you go now to the next 5 in the next video, just philosophically, I think that I fit more in the First Come. I'd have to really pay attention to it, and you definitely fit more in the Zenithian. You're going to find that the First Come have a lot more religiosity.
Not a fan.
So do we have any questions, comments, concerns from the crowd out there?
Comments here.
Awesome.
Let's see. We're not going to do that one. All right. Full Metal Dragon says, for a company that named itself after a Coriolis faction, Free League doesn't write enough Coriolis books. Yeah.
So what I've heard is that, so now that they have Mercy the Icons done, which is those 3 big, and there's a couple other things that they wrote. I could bring out a couple other modules, but yes, I generally agree with that. Now, Coriolis was actually pre-Free League publishing. This is like the second version of the game, if I remember correctly, but it's kind of their namesake. Yeah. I agree with that. Now, my understanding is that they have no more plans to do anything with Coriolis unless it's a second edition.
Sucks.
That sucks.
All right, Crafty says, the factions of Coriolis are what sets it apart from games like Traveler and Alien, in my opinion. Sure, these games have corporations, but those are not the same as the Zealots and Coriolis. And
we'll really get into Zealots in the next video again, religion tends to breed more of that, right?
Sweet.
So, yeah, I agree. I think that, anybody, you can run Traveler and you can make your own factions. You can come up with these ideas. That it would take time, but it isn't hard. You can look at the real world world for inspiration. You can watch Star Trek for inspiration. You can feel have your Orion traders, so to speak, right? But the fact that it's given in the book, and if you look at this book in terms of factions, reminds me of the manual, the first edition manual of the planes for Dungeons and Dragons. It gave me enough information to know the theme and what's generally what they're about, but doesn't dictate every step I take with them.
Nerdier comes up and says, I can tell you the first come didn't leave with their kids. That's why they got there first. Didn't have constantly stop for bathroom breaks.
While funny, I have to be pedantic for the sake of this video. I do like that comment. I think that's a good one. The first come got there first because of portals. Well, the other guys just flew there the old-fashioned way, faster than light.
Yep. Then we have Reactionary Gaming says, Ocean Gate could go and get those resources in deep water. That's Ocean Gate. That's what, yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm entirely certain that the corporation deliberately caused the draining of the ocean. And said, whoops, our bad. Oh, it wasn't us. The unexcused world. You know why? It's a lot easier to get stuff off the bottom of the ocean into your factory if there's no water in between.
If there's no ocean.
Exactly.
You know what gets in the way of the bottom of the ocean and the top of the ocean? The ocean.
Yeah, let's lose that middleman and go to profit. That's exactly what they did. I believe it.
Anything else?
That's it.
That's the last one. All right.
Yep.
Well, hey, hope you guys like this. Here we go. Like, subscribe, share. Not the most exciting topic when it comes to Coriolis, but I think an important one, especially if you've been watching this playlist from beginning to end, for you to understand if this is a game that you want to get involved in. I hope it is. I like the game. Again, I take out the Arabicness of it only because I can't do it justice. But outside of that, I like what this game has to offer, and I think Crafty was right. These factions in here definitely, it's very easy to play the political game in here. Very easy. But you don't have to do it that way.